Hey friends, Kevin here. I'm sitting in Oklahoma, I think, but this seemed like a good time and a good day to make a video on how to charge your batteries while you're driving, because there is a way to do this. Now, this gets more into people who have a solar system and are using some type of external batteries, house batteries, as they are generally called, that you're going to use to power your lights and your 12-volt refrigerator if you have one, and be able to recharge your phones and laptops and all of that stuff while you are on the road. Now, if you're using something like a Jackery or Gold Zero or one of those other brands that's a built-in battery pack that has all of this stuff, this may not apply to you, but it's good to know this stuff, because you never know, in the future you may decide to upgrade to some of this stuff, or you're going to see and meet other people on the road when you're out on your van life adventures in your minivan or camper van. You're going to meet other people that have setups like this, so you'll understand what they're doing or what they're trying to do if they're having problems out of whatever setup that they're using. So the device that we're talking about is basically called a battery isolator. Now, you can have a box that automatically does this for you, that is electronic essentially, and there's this older style that basically has a plunger and works off of electricity and magnetics to make this inside connection, almost like a weird pinball machine plunger. I don't really care for that type, because I think the mechanical things, anything can fail, but from what I've seen, they just don't seem to last as long. So I want the box that has everything in it. And basically what you're doing, from the alternator on your vehicle, you would be running directly to your battery, your starting battery under the hood. With this battery isolator, what you're doing is you're running from your alternator to this, and then you're running out of this with one cable back to your starting battery, and with another cable you're running out and going back through your van to your house batteries. And this little box controls everything. And the reason it's called an isolator is because it's isolating the way that current can go, so it only goes in one direction back to those house batteries. Because if you had your house batteries connected to your starting battery without an isolator, and you actually can pull this off without it, but what would happen is batteries that are hooked together try to even themselves out with the power that they have. So if you overused your house batteries during the night, it would start pulling power from your starting battery to try to level things out, and you would get up the next morning and you may not have enough power to actually start your van. So this battery isolator, with the line going to your house batteries, only allows the current to flow in one direction, so you are just charging the house batteries, but you're not able to pull the other way and let the house batteries discharge your starting battery when the vehicle is not running. So I hope that made sense in some form. If not, you may need to rewind for a minute and listen to that again. But the main thing you need to know is simply this little box is going to take care of everything. They're not that expensive. They're less than $100. I'm going to put a link down to the one I use that came from Amazon, and I'm going to show you this all under the hood in a second, the way this is all set up. The other thing that you have when you have this type of system is you have a little line that needs to come over, and it needs to plug in to your 12-volt van system somewhere that you have wiring. So you're going to put it into the fuse box. You're going to splice into a wire, something that's on when the key is on and the vehicle is running, just like you would do if you were installing a car stereo. So you turn the key, the car stereo comes on. You turn the key on, it sends power to that battery isolator system, so it fires up, and it really is that simple. You only have a couple of connections to make. Now, this van came with one from the factory because this was a converted van to use as a camper. And the one that came in this when I bought it had basically rusted away and was obviously not functioning, as was the little circuit breaker behind it. So I had to replace both of those parts. And this is the other thing, because you're dealing with an electrical line again coming from that isolator. Wherever you run it through your van, going to your house battery or batteries, you need it to be fused. Or what I prefer, a circuit breaker. And the little circuit breaker I have in here is an automatic circuit breaker. It'll actually trip and when it needs to and reset itself if something goes wrong, because you never know when you may get a pinched wire. You never know when some animal may end up in your system and chew through the outside coating of the wire, things that could cause a short, things that could cause a fire. Because when you're dealing with these automotive batteries, you can run a lot of current through these, and actually enough current to where a short can cause a fire and send something up in flames. So you don't want that to happen. So we're going to have the battery oscillator, and we're going to have the fuse / circuit breaker for it for safety. So here we are under the hood of this van. This is actually the starting battery. Way down in here that you can see, this big blue box is the battery isolator. But there's one wire, one wire, one wire. So one of these wires is coming from the alternator. One of these wires then is going to go back to my starting battery. And this wire, and the reason I have it taped up so I can remember and know, if you notice, it jumps right over, and right behind it is this automatic circuit breaker. One line in, one line out, and then that wire goes on back through the van to the house batteries. I would love to film the rest of this out here with this view, but it is just too windy here today, so we'll step back inside and finish this. But it's not hard. A couple of screws to mount this thing, run a few wires, and set it and forget it. That's it. You don't have to think about it. Since I put this thing in probably 2 years ago, I have never had to touch it. It just works. It does what it's supposed to do, and life goes on. That it's not hard for you to install one of these. Even if yours didn't have one to begin with, it's just a matter of moving a wire around, buying the heavy gauge wire that you need. That'll be down in the description also, and running that back to your batteries. And you only need to run one wire. You only need to run the hot wire, because you're going to ground off the battery somewhere close to you. You're going to ground it to the frame, essentially. So you're only going to have your one wire going into this thing, your two wires coming out of this thing, one to your starter battery, one to your house batteries in the back. So let me know if that made sense. Let me know down in the description if it didn't make sense, if I need to come back and explain something better. If you don't catch something the first time, assume it's that I didn't explain it well, and not that you just can't get it, because you can get it. You can understand and learn all of this stuff. Sometimes it's just a matter of, you may have to watch something a couple of times in order to get it. Everything doesn't click in my little head the first time I see it, or the first time I try to install whatever it is and make it work either. But if you stick with it, give it a little time, it will make sense to you, I promise you. If you have any additional questions, something I wasn't clear on, of course, always put that down in the comment section. I read every comment. I try to respond to the majority of them, especially if it's somebody asking a specific question about something. This is something that's valuable to you. And it depends, again, on your style of travel, your style of camping. I'm generally not parked in the same place for days at a time. It's just the way that I choose to go out and explore and adventure. So for me, having something that every time I'm driving is sending more power back to my battery bank, even though I have solar on this van, it's an advantage to me. Because on a crap weather day or whatever, if I'm driving, it doesn't matter. I'm still, every time I start this vehicle, I'm sending some power back to recharge those batteries so I can make sure I'm always charged and always have enough power to do what I need to do inside the van through the day, and especially to get through the night with. The main thing being the refrigerator, in addition to just lights and little fans to stay cool and charging tablets and phones and anything else like that. Also, if you already have a battery oscillator system in your setup, post a few details of that down in the comments below too, and let the other people know how well it works for you and how much of a difference it makes in the amount of power that you can have in your rig. And I kind of got off topic there for a second, but the point I was trying to get back to is my style of traveling. I probably, just when I'm traveling, I could have gotten by without having solar panels on this thing at all, because what I drive around during the day would have been more than enough to recharge my house batteries to power everything else in here through the day and through the night. Having the solar panels, again, is just one more thing, and it helps. And it helps for the times I'm not using this van, because I can just walk away from this van. I can be back at home working or take a side job somewhere for a few days, or I can be traveling in my minivan, and wherever this big van is sitting, there's enough solar power coming in, that it keeps everything going in here, including my refrigerator, and I just don't have to worry about it. So if I happen to not be in this van for 2 weeks at a time because I'm in the other one, everything's still running and fully charged. So that's my system and kind of my setup that I run in this one. And the new to me minivan that I've picked up, one of the first things I do, I haven't decided whether I'm even going to put solar on it or not, but I am going to have a second house battery in that van, the way I'm going to set it up. And the first thing I'm going to do is put a battery oscillator system in there, because I know when it's just me in the minivan, I'm going to be out exploring a lot through the day, and I think I could probably do all right even without having a solar panel, even though I may slap one on there secondary. But the battery oscillator is going to just be a great help for that. So again, any questions you have, put those down below. You're wondering what to watch next, look down the description. You'll see all links to all kinds of recent videos. We'll talk soon.